Hey guys, this is Giridhar here, and you're looking at the first smartphone with a 4 GB RAM, the Asus Zenfone 2. So Asus Zenfone 2 is now leading the RAM race, and due to this, many other mobile manufacturers are getting onto the bandwagon, and they are introducing mobiles with more RAM in it. So it is very important for you to understand what a RAM is. RAM, or the random access memory, is a volatile storage where the operating system or the apps operate from. It is like a storage memory, but you cannot write anything permanently onto it. This temporary storage is where the applications run. The bigger the capacity, the more apps it can handle simultaneously. If the RAM gets filled, your system gets slow and Android slowly starts killing the running applications. So mobile manufacturers are now including more RAM in their devices so that you can have more apps running in the background or running simultaneously. Okay, now we have established that, and let's come back to the Zenfone 2. The Zenfone 2 has around 6 variants, and of which 4 of them come with a 4 GB of RAM, and the basic 2 variants are with 2 GB RAM. So you can see in the chart that there are major differences between these variants of Zenfone 2 is just their RAM capacity and the processor. So they are basically classified into two different processors. One is the 1.8 GHz and another one is the 2.3 GHz. Both are Intel Atom processors. The Asus Zenfone 2 is the second generation on the Zenfone series. In the first generation, they named it by the size. So Zenfone 5 would have a 5-inch screen, Zenfone 6 would have a 6-inch screen, and so on. But why Zenfone 2? So Zenfone 2 definitely doesn't have a 2-inch screen. So it's basically the second generation of Zenfone, and they have decided to name all these variants of Zenfone 2 with the same name. Just the if you look closely, you would see that there is a difference in the model number, and those model number are not branded anywhere or marketed anywhere visibly. So I have this 4 GB RAM variant with me, and it's got 32 GB of internal memory. So when I'm talking about this particular variant in my hand, the hardware, the design of all the other variants is gonna be the same. When I first laid my eyes on the Zenfone, I was amazed at the design, but then looks could be deceptive. The material is plastic, so from a distance it looked like metal, and I was kind of excited. But then when the details came out, I found out that it is a plastic, and even then, when finally I got the device in my hand, I'm not totally disappointed. The brush metal finish at the back looks good, so that's all you want, and also it's sturdily built. And though it's plastic, I have no complaints about it. Anyway, I would have loved to see a metal design in it, but anyway, that's what we get here, and I like this design. The back cover fits sturdily with the device, and when I remove it, you can see the dual SIM slots. Both the SIM are micro SIM, and also the slot for SD card. And you can see the 3000 mAh battery, and the battery is not user replaceable. And at the back, you find this NFC chip here. The power button is placed at the top, and the volume rockers are placed at the back, and you find a curve at the back. So the curve especially fits ergonomically in your hand. It's very convenient to put it inside your pocket or make a phone call while holding this device in your hand. But the problem is when you actually lay it on the surface and try and do some operation on it, the device gets all wobbly, and even a small interaction like swiping wobbles your mobile, and that's kind of sometimes putting you off. Power button is at the top, and it's kind of very inconvenient to reach all the way to the top, and though it's got very little tactile feedback, I wouldn't complain about the power button because the device supports tap to wake and tap to sleep feature, and right now I have disabled this feature because that basically I found out that disabling the tap to wake and tap to sleep improves your battery life. And the volume button placed at the back is very convenient. It's all a matter of getting used to. Overall, it's a sturdy device, looks stylish as well, but the curved back tends to get wobbly. Huge thumbs up for design of Asus Zenfone 2. The display is a 5.5-inch display. It's an IPS LCD panel, and it supports a resolution of 1920 by 1080, and it's got a decent black levels, and the brightness is good. So let me bring up a gallery app, yeah, and I'll show you the images. You can see that the black levels are really good, and one other thing which I found out was the sunlight legibility was pretty okay. I wouldn't say it is very good. You would have to turn up the brightness all the way up to have a better legibility in under direct sunlight. The colors are vibrant and good color reproduction. The display is not the best we have seen in the market, but for the price, I have no complaints about this display. The Asus Zenfone 2 comes in two variants, one with the Intel Atom Moorfield Z3560, and that's clocked at 1.8 GHz, and the one in my hand is clocked at 2.3 GHz, and it's the Intel Atom Moorfield Z3580, as you can see here. And it's called a GPU, a dedicated GPU of PowerVR Rogue G6430 here, and the processor is one of the fastest we have seen in this price range, and it matches Snapdragon 8201, and in certain scenarios it even outperforms the Snapdragon. As you can see, the OnePlus One is ranked below the Zenfone 2 here in this particular test. And I wouldn't take the test as a final mark, but even in my experience, I have seen this device perform really smooth and fast compared to any of the Snapdragon device in this range. So the graphic performance, I would say, is above average. There is no frame lag or frame drops of any kind. As you can see here, there are certain issues with the graphic rendering, but it's smooth. For a normal gaming, you wouldn't find it to be a pain point. So the device does get heated up, and right now let me check the temperature. So it's gone up to 41 degrees Celsius right now, and the hottest I have seen is 50 degrees Celsius. But that's due to prolonged usage of graphics, and the device doesn't get heated up unnecessarily. The Zenfone 2 outperforms most of last year's flagship device and a few of current year's flagship devices, but it is very close to the OnePlus One's performance. And especially given the price rating, I would say that OnePlus One is the closest competitor for the Zenfone 2 in this particular variant. And also the Zenfone 2 can run the OS and UI very smoothly, and it can handle 2D and 3D graphics effectively, as you can see on the screen right now. It does not disappoint in the performance section thanks to the Intel Atom Moorfield processor and a massive 4GB RAM that can hold a ginormous cache. Zenfone 2 has a camera sensor of 13 megapixel at the back and a 5 megapixel sensor at the front. The 13 megapixel sensor is a Toshiba sensor like the HTC One M9, and it's got an aperture value of f2.0, and same with the 5 megapixel, it's got an aperture value of 2.0, but then it's a OmniVision sensor and not great performance. One little complaint I would have for the Zenfone 2 for choosing the hardware in the camera department is the lack of optical image stabilization. The better camera UX always complements good hardware, so the camera UI in the Zenfone 2 is pretty smooth. So the camera UI in the Zenfone 2 is pretty straightforward, and you have a button to click your pictures and to start the video recording here, and you can click this small preview window to open up your previous clicks, and this one chooses different modes. I'll talk about the modes later on, and you have a setting gear icon to choose between different settings available, and this one's to primarily to switch from your primary camera to your secondary camera, and here you have a quick toggle to switch on or off the flash. In the auto mode, the UI controls are quite simple, though there are different modes like the HDR and low light. They don't switch on automatically. So in a low light situation, it will say that okay, switch to enable HDR mode or owl mode, but it doesn't automatically switch on to the HDR or the owl mode. The owl mode is basically a night mode in the Asus Zenfone language. One little feature which I would like to talk about is the manual mode. So the manual mode is really useful. Got this clip wherein I play with the manual mode. This is the picture that came out. The manual mode has ability to control your white balance, your exposure compensation, and the ISO and shutter speed, and also the focusing distance. So all these are really helpful when it comes to clicking the picture, and if you are a pro and if you know what you are doing, you will really enjoy the camera and the manual features that the Zenfone 2 offers. So on a normal day, under well-lit conditions, the image output seems to be good, but on closer inspection, you would notice that the Pixel Master algorithm does a little bit of over sharpening around the edges, leads to smoothened edges. And this is quite unnatural, and this algorithm should be used only under low light or challenging lighting conditions. So under low light conditions, the camera of Zenfone 2 definitely performs well, and this one is a shot I've taken with the front facing camera, and this one's come decently as well. So there are a little bit of grains here and there, but anyway, the picture is there and the moment is shot, so I have no complaints about that. So on the outset, under most of the conditions, the Zenfone 2 camera really impresses me, and especially the macro shots and the ability to show you a good depth of field. It's kind of very impressive camera there, and I like the details that is coming out of each of the image there. And one little tip I would give you is, in the auto mode, you can go and disable this optimization. So what this optimization does is it basically applies the algorithm over the pictures you have clicked, and it kind of over sharpens the edges. So I love to keep this off, and I like the really natural picture without any algorithms applied on it. And now we have different modes in the UI. So we have the auto mode, and I've already explained the manual mode. HDR mode, you will be familiar about it, and beautification mode basically smoothens the skin, and you can choose different levels of smoothening. And this super resolution picture, let me show you a sample here. So this one was shot in the super resolution mode. You can see that the resolution is around 50 megapixels here, and the same picture shot is around, in the normal mode, leads to around 10 megapixel here. And the advantage of super megapixel is you can really zoom in and see the details very much, and even when you are zoomed it at this level, you can see the good number of details there. So anyway, I would be uploading all these sample pictures in my blog, and you can check out those pictures as well. And later we have the low light mode, which basically reduces the capability of the sensor to 3 megapixel, and you have the night mode. Difference between low light mode and night mode is the night mode still retains the megapixel count of the sensor, which is 13 megapixel, and low light mode basically reduces it to 3 megapixel and gives you better details about each of the image that's shot there. So depth of field applies an artificial depth of field. So let me get a sample there. So this is a normal picture which I clicked, and then later on this is the picture I clicked with the depth of focus on. Unlike other cameras wherein I have seen the software induced depth of focus is kind of too artificial to look out, and you can immediately make out that it's an artificial depth of field induced here. But Zenfone 2 does really a very good job, and you can see that the background is blurred out, and that's called the depth of focus, and only the foreground is in detail. And then we have the different effects you can apply and this one is called the selfie mode. The selfie mode is basically makes your primary camera as a selfie camera, and you have different gestures to click the picture. So the Zenfone 2 is powered by a 3000 mAh battery, and I would say that 3000 mAh battery is not sufficient for this mobile. With this massive 4 GB of RAM, Android does not kill any of the application, and these applications are still running in the background, and that causes power drainage. And also the tap to wake and sleep feature kind of drains a lot of battery. And with 4G always on, this device lasts less than a day. And when I was using this mobile actively to browse and click a few snaps, the battery ran out much faster, and the battery saving feature is practically useless, so it doesn't do anything to it. But one little thing that comes to my rescue is the Boostmaster charger, and this version of this variant of the Zenfone 2 comes with an 18-watt charger, basically a 9-volt and 2 ampere capable charger that charges this device much faster than the regular charger there. Zenfone 2 runs on Android 5.0 out of the box. It has a Zen UI running on top of it. The Zen UI has a long list of pre-installed applications. So let me get those lists. So you can see that it's already got its own email, its own task manager. So most of these applications have a better or even equal alternative available in the Play Store. So essentially these are bloatwares, and I'm not a really big fan of it. So look at this feature, like it's got a system update icon. So system update is one of the item in the menu in this under settings. So why should they have a separate app icon for it? And then we have the Zen Circle, which I really don't know what it's about, and Zen Talk is just a link to your Asus Zen forum. And Zenio is a magazine reader, and 50 plus games wherein it takes to Gamelob's link and you can download games. So all these apps are pretty much useless to me, and I have no way of removing it, and that's why I call it bloatware. But there are still a couple of applications which I really like this Asus Supernote. It comes in very handy to take notes, and the mini movie is really good, and I found it to be one of the best movie editors available for Android. And the handy utilities or the auto start manager and the backup. The auto start manager can disable apps which are starting up by default when you switch on the device, and the backup is a handy utility which essentially helps you back up the Android system app data and installed apps to the drive, and you can reinstall it when you are migrating to another device. So you can also see that there are a lot of changes to the notification bar here. It's completely different from the native Android 5.0 notification draw. So it has the first row for standard utilities like the flashlight, your RAM booster, your calculator, and auto start manager, and the remaining levels are all configured for your quick toggles, and there are ways to essentially switch off or remove certain quick toggles out of the view. And if you are not using for example screencast, you can totally remove it out of the notification window. So it has a couple of themes, like it has some 6 themes to play around, but still there isn't enough customization available for this particular model. At this price range, MI4 has loads of customization. It's a customization beast, so you can do whatever you want with the MI4 or the MI UI there. And that kind of customization feature is lacking in the Zenfone 2, and that's a big drawback for Zenfone 2. Asus must have gone the Motorola way. Motorola offers a very close to vanilla Android user experience with a few custom apps installed in it. So installing a lot of custom apps and reinventing the wheel, wherein Android has already solved a lot all the UX issues, like for example the notification bar and all those things. I don't think there's a need to reinvent the wheel and have a totally customized UI on top of it. Anyway, this UI is fast and snappy, so I'm not complaining about this. So it is definitely better than the TouchWiz UI or the Sense UI, which you get in the Samsung or the HTC mobiles. Whatever said and done, the phone is a phone, so it's a communication device. So call quality on Zenfone 2 is just okay. I did have some issues with the network, but I'm not sure whom to blame, either Asus or Airtel, my network provider. The loudspeaker is weak, and I found out that it's useless to take the call when the loudspeaker is on. The mic is also very feeble. The other side, the person on the other side can barely hear me. But the dialer offers some nifty features like recording and notes taking, which I found it to be very useful during my conference calls. So having said a lot of things over the past few minutes, the ultimate question is, should you buy the Zenfone 2 or not? So here is where you must understand Asus master stroke by naming all the 6 variants of Zenfone 2 as Zenfone 2. While the top end variants seems to be fighting with the flagship devices, the 2GB variant or the entry level variant are the real match winners for Asus. These devices are competitively priced and they get all the specs, almost all the specs from their high-end brothers. A full HD display, 13 megapixel camera, 3000 mAh battery, whatnot. All this for 4999 or 14999. Now that's a deal. What I don't like about the Zenfone 2 is the overloaded bloatware in the Zen UI and the poor battery life that plagues this device. If you look at the device in my hand, I cannot help myself from comparing it with the OnePlus One or the Samsung S6 or the MI4. So these are the sparring rivals for this Zenfone 2. But still, Zenfone 2 draws blood in a couple of rounds, mainly because of its great design and incredible hardware specs and a smooth software experience overall. So definitely a huge thumbs up for Asus Zenfone 2. And if you like my video, do subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching the video. This is Giridhar signing off.